2 days ago, the Olympics came in. I am not an Olympic fan. I don't care really much about the Olympic because of economical reasons. But interesting, this is the first Olympics within the pandemic in Tokyo, Japan. The fair blending was by a Japanese Haitian tennis player, Naomi Osaka. Which again, if you guys have there's a Netflix documentary. It's pretty interesting and he talks a lot about her race, how she hates it from both sides, including American, because she actually grew up in the United States. And there was a lot of criticism around that, and there was a lot of criticism about the representation. I mean, again, I am not an Olympic fan ever, but I definitely think Hillary has some comments because she said there was a lot of flag about certain things. Can you elaborate on that?
Oh, I didn't say that there was necessarily a lot of flack. I'm a big Olympics girl. I don't know why. I don't know if you can tell about the everything about me, but I'm not a sporty person in terms of like I can't swim, I can't ride a bike, I can't ice skate. I do not do sports. Something about watching the Olympics and the patriotism wrapped in it before I knew about all of the economic repercussions of the Olympics has always made me sentimental. It's always made me cry. I always think that if the world can come together in a peaceful way through sports, why can't we for the rest of the world? And so I spent all of Friday watching the entire 4 hours of the opening of the Olympics, the whole opening ceremony, and I thought it was really good. But I was personally really impressed because not only did Naomi Osaka, who's Haitian Japanese and went to school in New York City, light the cauldron with the torch, which it's always enveloped in secrecy who the last person is. They also had a Japanese basketball player. I forget his name, but he is mixed Benin and Japanese as well. And I was surprised. I'm always surprised at the amount of representation, but I was really surprised at how Japan, as like the host, really came forward and made two of the most predominant people introducing their country to the Olympics as the openers, or as the hosts, I guess, have them be mixed race. So I thought that that was extremely interesting. I think it's really important. It did make me cry to see someone with red box braids light the cauldron at one of the biggest global, I think, events. So I was a big sap about it. And I think it just means a lot for a lot of girls who look like me or like Naomi who, want to see this representation and don't get to see it. I haven't heard anything negative from the other side. I'm sure that there is, but I thought it was a really cool and good moment. And then the Olympics, they also reformulated their like Olympic oath to include the mention of like all genders and ethnicities and orientations. So it was also more trans and queer inclusive as well. So they did, I think, good.
Well, a funny thing is that Japan is a very conservative culture. It's super
Mm-hmm.
conservative there. And one of the things that was trending with them is that they called people that are not born Japanese, that are they're born with somebody from a different race, they called them a hafu. That's what they call them. And hafu was trending, and a lot of people in Japan were actually questioning why did a hafu was lighting up the torch. And some people they feel like foreigners in Japan, which is kind of like the thing. I don't think you can even get a citizenship in Japan if you are not a Japanese citizen. So it is a very quite a different culture down there. Alon, what's your thought about this?
Don't really have too much to say. I mean, I think it's very cool that we have a young Black woman who lit the torch. I don't think I've ever seen anything like that in my lifetime until now. So that's a huge thing. One of the few things that you and I do agree on is that the Olympic Committee is one of the biggest terrorist fucking organizations on the planet besides the Catholic Church. They just ransack countries and bleed them economically. I have no love for the committee and how they get down and what they do. But I unfortunately it's one of those moves by an organization that I feel was only sparked by recent political and cultural and social events. It's unfortunate that as people of color you kind of got to take the good with the bad, right? So yeah, this is a great moment in history for young Black women and Black people in general, but then you got to realize, and we all understand, that if it wasn't for certain social movements and certain things that happened in the past 12 months, or 18 months, that young girl would not have lit the torch. Like, it would have just been business as usual, and it would have been just another white-skinned or white-passing individual, conducting this in the opening ceremony. So, yeah, I mean, I'm glad to see it happen. It's huge. It's historic. You can't take that away from her. And I don't want to in any way, shape, or form. I just, unfortunately, am just very aware of the fact that, this it took so many things and so many events to lead up to this, which I know to a lot of people who don't get it, it seems like a very small thing, but it's not, right? Like Hillary said, this is the biggest sporting event, in the world, that happens, every 2, 4, 5 years, whatever the duration is, depending on the Olympic event, and to have a young Black woman, do this is huge. It's historic, and I'm glad that has happened. So, and I'm glad I lived to see it. So I'm all for it.
Clinton, what's your take on it?
Well, I've always kind of been half into the Olympics. I always intend to watch them and get into them, and I never do. So I'm assuming that this is kind of a first, having a person, the Olympics hosted in a country that is not predominantly Black, having had someone come out and light the final torch being of partial Black descent. So that's really cool. Are the Olympics like the world coming together in peace? But it's also a silent kind of war, right? Like, these countries invest millions and millions and millions in these athletes to perform for a few minutes or a few weeks at a time to really get those bragging rights, that sort of nationalistic feeling that our humans are better than your humans. So I've always had that kind of feeling about the Olympics. But if it's inspiring for people like Hillary and women who look like Naomi Osaka, I think that's a really great thing. And to comment on what you said, Alon, it probably is due to social movements that have taken place in the past year, but it's still telling, because I think it's social movements that have made a lot of the changes that society faces, that society is reaping the benefits of here in 2021. Everything is a result of activism, and like social work and fighting and worldwide, like a need for change. So it is a result of that, but it's like you said, it's take the good with the bad. It's a nice nod.
I'll personally, again, I encourage everybody to watch Naomi Osaka's documentary on Netflix. It's pretty cool. But Hillary, you had something to say?
I just wanted to do the gentleman who was a flag bearer justice and say that his name is Rui Hashimura. I should have had that prepared as well. So Rui Hashimura and Naomi Osaka. That's the two who, I don't know, made me really happy.
No, yeah, I think Naomi Osaka, per se, like I said, if you see her documentary, she has had a lot of issues with her race and identity. Definitely, everybody should check out that documentary. It's quite interesting. As far as the Olympic goes, I think they should burn down and never happen ever. Just because they don't make any sense economically. They don't make any sense. If they find a very sustainable way to host them, amazing. But it doesn't make any sense at all for a country. And a funny fact is that the reason why the Olympics cost so much money was because Hitler wanted to host the Olympic, and he made this Olympic a big show in the 1930s. And that's when the Olympics went this big old thing, because he wanted to run as Germany as a superpower, because there was a war going on. And that's where the Olympic just became super expensive. There's a documentary on that too, so if people want to watch it. But yeah, the Olympics, for it economically, they don't make sense. I hope no country ever hosts it or gives any money to that thing. But again, congratulations to Naomi Osaka. And again, what's the name of the gentleman?
It's Rui Hashimura.
Rui Hashimura. I mean, congratulations to them, and hopefully they go to bigger and better things.